Hi guys, okay, now I am going to walk you through some of the key reports that you need to analyze and monitor in Google Analytics to really help ensure your conversion rate optimization efforts are very fruitful. Okay, so first of all, when you first log in, you will arrive on a page called the Audience Overview. Now this just gives you a general barometer of the health and performance of your website, and it will usually default to the last 30 days. So there's a chart line here that displays the amount of sessions, and then there's some little small spark lines of everything that happens for the various metrics of your website. So first of all, I'm going to talk to you about the top pages report, which is under behavior, then it's under site content, and then all pages. So it's a pretty straightforward report. This is going to tell you the top pages in the time period that you have chosen here, and it will tell you various key metrics for them. So if you wanted to change the date range, this is where you go up here. So I've got the last 30 days, which is on default, or you can choose custom date ranges in here, or you can even pick specific dates. Very useful little calendar there. So I'm going to X out of that, and so you'll see this is the page views for all of your pages in the last 30 days, and here you can see various different metrics for all of your key pages here. So this is the top, in this case, the top 10 pages in the last 30 days. So you can see how much traffic each of these are getting, and this is the actual URL name, so you can see exactly what this page is. But some of the key things to monitor on this page, which are very useful for your top pages, is obviously page views is interesting, but some of the more interesting stuff for conversion rate is going to be your bounce rate and your exit rate here, because if your bounce rate's high, it means that people are getting to this page and they're leaving, and they're not seeing anything else afterwards. So bounce is defined as when someone arrives on your page and doesn't click on anything else and leaves. It's quite high in this case because I have a blog, and this is the blog that I'm analyzing here, showing you in this report. So you'll see quite high bounce rates here, because often people just come to look at one blog and read it, and then blog article, and then read it and then leave. So exit rates is slightly similar to bounce rate, but it takes into account what people do after they've looked at one page. So this exits are like people who leave after looking at one page. So they'll for example land on your homepage, then they'll click something, and then they'll exit. Whereas a bounce rate is for people who are just arriving on one page and then leaving. So certain pages you'll never get a bounce rate on, because you have to arrive directly on it. For example, a shopping cart billing page will never have a bounce rate because people don't arrive directly on it in order to leave, whereas it does have an exit rate because that's pages that people would naturally leave on. Okay, so bounce rate and exit rate are very key here, and if you wanted to, you could even sort by these by clicking on the relative column headers here. I don't actually, one of the drawbacks of that is that it will just sort for 100% or 0%, and it won't take into account page views. So if you can actually export this and do some data manipulation yourself. You can use the search here to find particular pages that you're interested in, and you can do pie charts, you can do comparisons to averages. This is a very useful one here. So you can say, I want to compared to site average, so I want to see bounce rate compared to the site average. So you can see here, this is very interesting. So this page here, just launched my conversion rate optimization toolbox, has a much lower bounce rate than average because they're obviously signing up, so they're going somewhere always quite often after that page. Whereas this page has a higher conversion, has a higher bounce rate than normal. So it's a pretty interesting thing for you to hit on there, which is this one, the comparison one. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this, and then one other thing I would really find very useful for conversion optimization is figuring out what people are doing after they're clicking while they're on these pages. So for example, I want to see what people do after they click on my top page in the last 30 days. So I click on the page name, and it gives you exact details for this, and this includes the traffic for this exact page. So you can see it's been picking up in search lately. So, but say I want to know what people are doing after they're clicking on this page, so I can understand, what their intent is, and it might reveal to me something interesting that I don't realize. So I'm going to click up here in this tab area here called Navigation Summary. It's kind of hidden away, but this is a good little trick here. So what it does is it tells you the next pages that people are going to after this page. So you can see here the current selection. This is the one I just chose, and it tells you the previous page and the next page path, where this is the interesting one here. So next page path, this is where people are going. So 33% of people in this time range are going to the toolbox thanks page. That means they're obviously signing up in the form at the bottom of this page, and they're going to the toolbox page in general. So very interesting indeed. This is also particularly good if you have multiple links pointing to the same page. So if you have different ways of linking to the same page, this is a good overview to find out what page they're getting to next, not necessarily what link they're clicking on next. And I'll show you this in-page. You can do this in-page option here as well, which will tell you exactly what people are clicking on when they're on the page. So what it does is it loads your page, and it will have some statistics about what people are clicking on. So this is obviously very important. So the page will be loading. And it gives you key statistics here. There's a problem loading full page view. Sometimes this happens. I'm going to actually open this in a new tab. Load the full view. Okay, cool. So if that happens, what it will do is it'll actually go to your site and give you the overlay on it, which is very interesting. Seems to be an issue with that at the moment. Oh, here we go. So it's loading. So okay, so it's gone to my home page, for example, here now, so I can tell what people are clicking on. So 1.6% of people are clicking on that. 0.4% of people are clicking on this. 7% are clicking on this. 9% are clicking on this. Some people are clicking on these links on the side. One of my other favorites is landing pages, which is around here, because you want to know how people are arriving on your website, because these pages are going to have real high impact on your conversion rate, because it's, you know, the first pages they see, so therefore these pages are going to have a big influence in terms of whether people are sticking around and converting or not. So you really need to pay attention to these pages, and this isn't necessarily just going to be your home page. It's going to be other pages that people arrive on from SEO, for example. So this top 10 pages here that I just pulled up in the landing pages report is a gold mine in terms of pages that you need to be optimizing. This is like the 80-20 rule, that, you know, if you only 80% of your success is going to come from 20% of your results, and then this is really going to be that principle working there. So you can see on this page, this is directly how people are landing on your website. So my top landing page is not my home page. It's this Visual Website Optimizer versus Optimizely post that I did. So you can see it's number one, and then the other interesting things it tells you are, it will tell you your conversion rate influence here. So you can't actually get this on the top pages report, but you can on this landing pages report. So you can see which of your top landing pages have the highest conversion rate, and you can change I have it on Gold Toolbox sign up here, but you can change that to if you have more than one goal that you would have set up earlier on, hopefully. So you can do some analysis to see which pages are converting very well. See, look, for example, this conversion rate optimization box page that I've created converts at 37%, which is obviously very high. Some of these other pages, you can convert directly on them, so this is also quite good. 3.64% of people are filling in the form at the end of the page when they get here. So this tells you which pages are performing very well for your conversions, and then if ones aren't working very well, you can figure out why that is the case. So, for example, I'm going to go back to this page and see why people perhaps aren't interested in filling in the toolbox after this. Maybe it's because it's a very long page and there's a lot for them to take into account. And also, look, it tells you the number of toolbox, the actual goal completions that come from arriving on this page. So this is really, really useful. Okay, and then also another thing that's very useful for this landing pages in particular is this bounce rate, because if your bounce rate is really high, that means people are leaving immediately as they're arriving on your top pages. So here, 90% of people are leaving on this page, but again, blogs will have a very high bounce rate between 70 and 90%. It's very hard to get people to stick around and do other things. So if you've got a regular type of website, like an e-commerce website or a lead generation or business-to-business website, you would expect these bounce rates to be much lower. Exit pages, and this is the next one down on this list under behavior, which is also interesting because you want to find out the top pages that people are exiting on. So see, this will tell you the exits, it's called, as a metric. So this page has had 622 exits on it. Exits as in they don't do anything after clicking on this page. So conversion toolbox 216. So and then it's got the exit rate. So what you want to do is take a look at your top exits page report and figure out why these people might be leaving on this page, and go back to that page and try and optimize it using all of the methods that you're going to learn about. Okay, so that's really important. Then other really important stuff that I want to show you is under acquisition, and then it's going to be under overview. This gives you an overview of how people are getting to your website in terms of organic search, referrals, direct, for example. This is a nice little overview barometer of how everything is working for you. So organic search is very high for me. And then it tells you actually the behavior and the conversions from them. So look, my referrals convert much higher than anything else. Referrals are actually, in this is known as people arriving from other websites. Direct means people arriving directly on your website, either by typing it in the browser bar or clicking from an off-site email, like an Outlook or something that isn't web-based. Okay, so social, and then email. Email is if you've tagged campaigns to say email, and paid search I'm not running. So this gives you a quick overview of what's converting very well and the bounce rate of them. So you can see how well each of the. I'm going to go to all referrals, and this will give you an idea of how actually the websites that are pointing to you are faring. So in this example, you can see the same kind of metrics, the number of sessions arriving from these different websites. This is the referrals report I've got up here. So this was from my recent user testing webinar, and you can see how well this converted at 36%. And then this was also from a blog on user testing, and TCO is Twitter. So anyway, it tells you the bounce rate, it tells you the goal conversion rates. So these are very important to understand. Okay, campaigns. This is when you've set up campaign tracking using the URL builder toolbar, so you can see how any of your individual email campaigns or paid search campaigns or Twitter ad campaigns are performing. Same types of things: behavior, acquisition, conversion rate, conversion rate percentages for those. So that's very useful. The campaigns one. Keywords, this is all it gives you here because of Google's recent change to make it private. All of these keywords you'll see not provided is easily the highest. These are just coming from, I would imagine, from Yahoo and stuff that isn't being blocked, whereas this is all Google, so 95% of it. But you can actually get this under search engine optimization now. So as long as you've set up that sync between webmaster tools, then you will be able to see this data. So if you wanted to see this not provided, you would go under here, queries, and it shows you the impressions, the clicks, the average position, and the click-through rate in the search engines. This click-through rate is, so you can see what your top keyword phrases are and the amount of clicks arriving from them. So it's pretty useful. But the only problem is you can't do any analysis in terms of bounce rate or impact on conversions, because this is like data that's been pulled in from Google Webmaster Tools, and it only goes back for the last 90 days, I think, and it doesn't include the last 2 days, as you can see here. So it's very basic. You can't do any further manipulation here. But better than nothing. Landing pages one, though, is quite good. You can actually see how people are, which pages they are landing on from organic search. Okay, so that's pretty interesting there. So next thing I want to show you is the internal searches report, which is very useful. So it's under behavior, and then it's under site search, and then it's under overview. So this is your internal site search. This is how many people are searching for things on your website. So this gives you an idea of what people are searching for, their intent, and also this gives you an idea if you get a lot of searches, people might be looking for stuff that you don't have, so it might give you good ideas of what content you should be creating. And then I would also recommend doing some searches on your own site to see what kind of results you get for these. We'll talk about that in a different section. Okay, so that's very important to always check. Then what I'm going to do is jump ahead to the conversion section now. I want to spend some time in here because this can be very good. So one of the first things I want to show you is the goal flow report. So it's under goals. Actually, I'll just show you the goal overview page here. So this shows you when your goals have been coming in, when they've been triggering, and then how many you're getting per day. And you can change it by a week, look, by a month. You can do this to all these reports, by the way. Very useful. And then you can, forgot to say this earlier on, but you can add segments, which we'll talk about also, which enable you to segment any of these reports. So, for example, I wanted to segment this on new users, and then hit apply. It will actually add a second line here, so you can see the amount of new users that are converting for your goals here. So not much difference between all sessions and new users. So anyway, so that's pretty useful. You can do that for any of your reports. Add different segments and even create your own segments. Okay, so this is just an overview page, and so you can find out what your overall conversion rate is, and you can do this for any of the goals you have in here. So you can do either goal completions or you can do goal conversion rate. So this is goal conversion rate. I'm going to take this new users off, remove, so much cleaner now. So this is the goal conversion rate. Okay, then total signups. Let's go to the funnel visualization first. This is the simplest one. I've only got two real steps in my flow. They arrive on the sign up page, and then they will go to the toolbox confirmation page. So here you can see exactly how many people are falling off between this rate. So as you can see here, 333 people arrive on the sign up page. 108 of those proceed to the toolbox sign up page. So that's 32% completion rate. And if you take the opposite of that, that's 67% abandonment rate. So if you had a shopping cart, that would be a 67% abandonment rate, which is about average for a shopping cart. But look, it also tells you where people are going. So they're either exiting the site, or they're going to the homepage. That's what this one means. Or they're going to my book or my services, or they're going back to the toolbox page. So this is really, really useful for you to monitor, to see how many people are getting through your whatever it is, your checkout flow or your shopping cart or your sign up flow. And you want to check this drop off rate between each of them. And then anytime you see a really high drop off rate between any of these pages in your flow, you want to specifically address that and go and look at that page and figure out why that might be happening. Okay, so that's the goal funnel, and then an even more advanced version of this is this goal flow, which is a relatively new feature in Google Analytics. It basically will give you a much more visual branching kind of analysis of this in terms of where people are coming from before the sign up page. So you can see the source. You can change this here to whatever you want it to be. So you can tell by source where they're all arriving from, and the thicker the band, the more people are coming in. Very useful. Okay, so that's given you a good overview of some of the key things you need to look at in Google Analytics in terms of reports that you should be monitoring to improve your conversion rate optimization efforts. Okay, thank you.